Welcome back to the Fans of the Home Team podcast. This is Kelsey, and this podcast episode is going to be my interview with a Baltimore Orioles fan, Ross Combs. So I used to work in minor league baseball, the whole grind, 80-hour weeks, rolling hot dogs in the morning, pulling tarp. Ross was my manager for the short 8 months that I was working for the team. He's a great guy, truly one of the best bosses that I've ever had. You're going to love hearing about how the Orioles bring his family together and how his niece was named after Camden Yards. So before the interview gets started, again, I really want to say thank you to all of those who have left a review on Apple Podcasts for us. We really appreciate it. So if you're listening on Apple or even have access to Apple Podcasts with an iPhone or a Mac, please just take a couple minutes today, leave us a review. It helps us grow and get better. We started posting the reviews and we're going to continue to do that week after week. So without further ado, here is the interview that I did with Ross. So Ross, how did you become a Baltimore Orioles fan?
Well, Kelsey, that's a great question. So I would say that becoming a Baltimore Orioles fan in my household was kind of, you're born into it. You know, it's like the genes that you get, you know, it's you blonde hair, blue eyes, and then you have to become an Orioles fan.
Wow.
You know, it was so funny when I was younger, I was just obsessed with Barry Bonds. Mm-hmm. So like just watching him just hit 73 home runs in the season, I was just completely obsessed. And then, all that stuff came out and I was like, you know what, maybe I should just become an Orioles fan. So that way I can just wallow in misery with my family. But yeah, it's definitely something that has bonded the Combs family for at least my 28 years of life. So it's just something that we can always go back to and always complain about or always be excited about or whatever it is. So just pretty much just didn't have a choice and just, haven't really decided on doing anything else about it. So
from Barry Bonds to the Orioles, that's the journey for sure.
I watched Barry Bonds hit his 500th home run as a Giant in Camden Yards. It was a rocket ship. It was ridiculous.
It's a cool thing to experience, though, for sure.
Yeah, it was cool. It was nice to see him hit a bomb, and then 3 years later he was out of baseball, and everyone hated him. So, but whatever.
It's a roller coaster. What were some of your earliest memories with the Orioles?
So Camden Yards was built the year I was born. So that ballpark is all I've ever known. And at the time, of course, we know this now because we've worked in sports and we've given a little bit of a crap about this sort of thing. But, at the time it was state of the art. It was, they really focused on the fan and really focused on those sort of amenities that, ballparks at the time, it was just like baseball, here's hot dog. So I've always kind of never even realized how much the fan experience was important to me. So the Orioles have always done a pretty good job of that, especially with the Camden Yards. But I remember, of course, I've been going to games there since I was 3. So my brother actually has kept every ticket of every game we've ever gone to. We're talking about hundreds of baseball games. So he would actually be better at this than I would. But but I remember one time we were sitting kind of in the upper deck. I can't be 5 or 6, and I was just so nervous that I was going to fall over or whatever it is, and then a foul ball got hit up, and it wasn't even close. Wasn't even close to us. And my mother held me like I was jumping off the third deck, just jumping off. It was just something that's always stuck in my mind forever. And now I have a hard time sitting in third decks of stadiums because I think that I'm just going to jump off. I don't know. I don't know why. That's just one of my earliest memories of going to Camden Yards, sitting in those green seats and every seat that's another thing. All the seats were good. You can always have a good spot, which nowadays, like we said, that's just commonplace. But back in 1998, getting nosebleed seconds, you're like, but it's like, oh wait, this is actually a good spot. So
it's just an impending doom that you're gonna fall.
Yeah, I'm sure BJ Surhoff hit a foul ball back there, and somebody Google BJ Surhoff, but I'm sure he hit a foul ball back there, and I got excited. And another one was I took a picture with Jeff Conine, and I was probably 8 or 9, and we got to go on the field, and that was really, really cool. Got to go on the field, and Jeff Conine I had this, this poofy hair that I have now. I was wearing a visor, so you can imagine just batting women off with a bat. Back when I was 8 years old, the Orioles visor on, my hair was just super poofy in it, and all Jeff Conine did was just make fun of me for 2 minutes about my hair. which was one of the greatest moments of my life. And then I work for a team that his son is on. It's just kind of weird how life works, but
full circle,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, I'll have to find that picture for this thing because I'm sure it's in my mother's house somewhere. Of just sure. Jeff Conine just holding on to me with my visor on.
That's got to be quite the sight. I'm sure people would appreciate it.
Just incredible. What a sight.
What have been some of your favorite memories with the Orioles?
I've been an Orioles fan pretty much my whole life. They went to the playoffs when I was like 5 or 6 and not really a lot of memories. Jeffrey Mayer stealing that home run in New York still makes me upset. That was not a home run by Derek Jeter, but anyway. But the thing that I've alluded to this a couple times, but the thing that the Orioles have always done is just like brought my family, together. I mean, that's what sports do. And I don't really, I don't want to start crying over the Zoom or anything like that, but that's like the most interesting thing to me about sports is no matter what, when it comes to the Baltimore Orioles, like no matter how annoying my father is to me at the time, or my mother, or my brother, or my sister-in-law, or even my niece. My niece is named Camden after Camden Yards. Like, we can always go to, the Orioles won last night. Like, they look pretty good. Like, it's those types of things that we've had, since I could remember, that it's always been like, we're going to have a pleasant conversation, or you're going to have that. This is something that connects us no matter what we do or where we go, that we can always come back to when it's that awkward Thanksgiving and it's the third day of you being in your parents' house. At least you can talk about, the Orioles signed this guy last night. He might be pretty good. It's just that can always work. And that's always something that I've loved about the Orioles. And it's not even about the team anymore. Who I'm sure they were 52 and 110 this year. But, what's nice is that it connects, our family. That's what I've always liked about it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. What have been some of the biggest heartbreaks, the worst moments being a fan?
I went to, like I said, haven't seen a lot of playoff baseball in Baltimore. So I was 20, 21 years old, maybe, or something like that. And the Orioles were in the playoffs. Hallelujah. And they were playing the Yankees. And it was first round matchup. So, you had to go. We had to figure out a way to go. So I'm living in Fairmont, West Virginia, drove about 5 hours to watch the Orioles lose a playoff game because Ichiro over here scooting around, missing a tag because he's as crafty as all get out. And Andy Pettit threw like 7 innings, even though he's 48 years old, and the Orioles lost. But that's the only playoff baseball game I've ever watched when it came to the Orioles. And so that was just like, all right, well, if the 48-year-old Andy Pettit's going to beat us, and Ichiro, who's 37, can somehow still miss a tag, be as crafty as possible, I don't think we're going to be able to pull this baby out. So that sucked. And just kind of like every year, the Orioles now, I mean, not to get into too much detail about the organization, but the Orioles now, obviously the future is pretty bright. So maybe it's a little bit different as opposed to just being terrible and the farm system being terrible. At least the farm system is good now. But yeah, there's a lot of heartbreaks. Plus the Orioles haven't had good pitching in 10 years. So literally haven't had a good pitcher in 10 years. So sorry, John Means and other guys I'm sure have been good enough, but they've never really been able to put it all together.
It's hard to put it together in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's a shame because I used to be such a fan back in the day. Like I would watch the local sports channel, which for us was Masson, with what it's called. Mm-hmm. And like it'd be like middle of July, Orioles would be like 45 and 62. So like, or maybe not even that bad, but like they were kind of closer to 500. The season's not over. And like they're already like talking, what's Joe Flacco going to do this year? Like Joe Flacco, it's July. I'm like, why are we talking about do we have to talk about the Ravens? Like we can't even give the Orioles 15 minutes. Like they're the ones currently playing. It's just that type of stuff that I always think back to and always kind of crack up about. Of course, now working in sports, seeing an Orioles game is the craziest thing in the world to me.
That's fair.
I've been to one in forever. If
you were the Orioles GM, what are some things you would do to help improve their situation?
Pitching be cool. We literally the coolest thing that's happened to an Orioles pitcher was John Means throwing a no-hitter last year, and then before that I couldn't tell you. Maybe somebody having a 4 ERA was pretty cool. Starting pitching has always been kind of tough. The bullpen has had its moments, but obviously right now the Orioles bullpen is terrible. So just draft every pitcher in every round of the MLB draft until I have 5 starters is what I would do. Just literally all 25 rounds will be a pitcher of some kind. Does not matter. We will figure it out and fill out the rosters. And that's what I would do. That would be the first thing I'd do. And then just probably be a drunk because I would just watch the Orioles just fade into oblivion and be sad about it.
That's probably the most honest answer I've gotten to that question.
What do people say? Or people just like, maybe, I don't know. Like, we draft LeBron. Like, well, of course, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to draft LeBron. Like, what do you mean?
They don't talk about getting drunk, but for the most part.
Well, I mean, just saying I'm going to have to be working 24/7 if I'm the GM of the Orioles, and I'm going to be sad. So
that's true.
Might as well just have some liquor in the old office,
Need some help. How would you describe the Orioles fandom in 1 or 2 words and why?
Well, the last time the Orioles won a World Series was in 1983, and the greatest Oriole ever, Cal Ripken, was in his 2nd season in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that the attitude when it comes to Orioles fandom is like, hey, when Cal Ripken makes an appearance, that's cool. And then once the Orioles start winning again, we may show up. I think that's kind of like the attitude, which, to be fair, can't really blame.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's been, I think, 2 playoff teams in the past 12 years, I want to say, for the Orioles. So it's just kind of like, when they win, we'll show up. That's kind of the attitude to me, which, that's no different than anybody else probably. Just like, we'll wait, we'll see. You'll go 4-3 in the first 2 homestands, and you're like, oh man, we might have something, and it's like, nah, no, just calm down. The Yankees, Red Sox, and Rays all still exist, and they're all still very good. So just don't worry about it right now.
It's not a good time to be in the AL East.
Well, it's never really been a great time, but now that like the Blue Jays are good too, and the Rays, like the Rays can literally just trade away every asset that they ever have, get guys in the farm system, and then also still be good. Which is the most frustrating thing. At least the Yankees and Red Sox are like, we'll just buy this guy, buy that guy. Like the Rays are just like trading away their good people and still being good is the most frustrating thing about the AL East to me at this very minute.
Last question then. If you could tell, the Orioles in the community what they've meant to you over the years, what would you say?
Yeah, once again, I don't know how sappy I'm allowed to get, but like,
you can cry if you want.
just start bawling my eyes out talking about the Baltimore Orioles. I think, like, once again, and maybe I'm kind of repeating myself, the sports, has always connected my family. Like when I visit my what I call my grandma home, so my grandmother on my dad's side, like she'll talk to me about the Orioles. When I go home and talk to my niece, who's literally named Camden after Camden Yards, which she's welcome, because if it wasn't for me, she wouldn't be named Camden, because I don't know what name. I don't know if I should say this out loud because I'm being recorded, but at the time I forget what my sister-in-law wanted to name her. Let's just say like Olivia or something like that. And I just happened to like be on Tinder, and I was just like, here's 3 Olivias right here on Tinder. How about we change the name?
What?
So then my brother was like, oh, Camden after Camden Yards. And then it was just like, boy or girl, it works. So then there you go. So the Orioles are just like, I guess the one thing I want to say to them is they're literally almost like a part of my family, but they've just been like the son that's the disappointment. You love him. Like you're happy to see him at Christmas, but he's going to say something. He's going to break something. He's going to try to get in a fight with somebody. And then when that happens, you leave. Gotta get out of here. But I mean, I appreciate everything that they've done to keep my family connected, because to be completely truthful with you, obviously that's how family works. Like you're always going to be connected, but to have something that you all can get behind, all agree upon, and all, root for, I just don't think that really exists. And sports is really the only outlet where that's an option. So I would probably say thank you to them for that, and, also for my niece not having another name, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's a great name. Not another Olivia.
Yeah.
She's on the dating website.
No offense to anyone named Olivia. If this ever gets brought out to the public, no offense to anyone named Olivia. That was just a name that I thought of. But yeah, that is a true story. That was Christmas, 7 years ago, which is so weird to think about. But yeah.
Man, I haven't heard a story like that yet, so that's a good one.
Oh crap! So it's definitely getting included, isn't it?
For sure.
My sister-in-law is going to be pissed.
Sorry, Olivia's.
It probably wasn't Olivia. It probably wasn't.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and thank you to Ross for doing this interview and giving us a hilarious insight into your Orioles fandom. Next episode is going to be Miranda and I ranking our favorite and also our least favorite Major League Baseball teams in honor of the season just starting. You won't want to miss it. Check out our link tree, which you can find in the description of this episode. It's our one-stop shop for you to find all of our social media accounts and also sign up to share your fandom story with us. And so you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening on. And like I said in the intro, and like we've said on a bunch of social media posts, please, please, please take some time to leave us a review. It does help us. It makes our day. I've told Miranda she has to start filming her reactions to them because she's probably crying. Thank you again, and we will see you next Wednesday.